Does it make you incredulous? Are you shaking your head saying that this is definitely fake? Sometimes it's as simple as that, believing something is too ridiculous to be true. If it seems that way, you're probably right. This image is fake and is intended to be satirical. Not every image can be discounted so quickly. How can you determine the credibility of images when you are looking through your social media timelines at home? Besides searching Snopes.com for published stories on the more notorious doctored images floating around the internet, Google.com has a reverse image search, most notably used in MTV's Catfish to determine if social media profile pictures are stolen from other accounts. To access the reverse image search, navigate to the Google homepage and click on Images in the upper right corner of the screen. You can either drag and drop the picture into the search bar or click on the camera icon in the search bar. Paste the image URL, or if you have downloaded the picture to your computer or cloud service, upload an image. Click Search by Image. The search results will return websites where that image is present. If it has been addressed by fact-checking websites, those will typically be displayed on the first page of results, as Google's algorithm tends to rank those sites higher. If an image has been stolen from other websites and miscaptioned, the results may show the original source of that image. You don't have to suffer through source evaluation alone. If you stumble on questionable content, your instructors, librarians, and other college agencies are available to help you determine the usability of sources. According to the survey conducted by Head and Eisenberg, only 18% of participants approached their instructors for help with their personal information needs. Only 5% of those asked for help from a librarian. Hi, I'm here and I want to help you. Overwhelmingly, though, survey participants depend on their friends and family and classmates for help with personal information needs. Instructors and library staff are here for your educational and personal information needs. Don't hesitate to approach us with questions. As the information literacy instructor, I've compiled several evaluation tools which can help you determine if the sources you're choosing for your coursework or for your own personal needs is the best content available. For example, this graphic of a website points to specific features of a site which can help you parse the intent and credibility of that site. We also utilize the CRAP test. This test asks questions relating to 5 key areas of information sources. Currency. Is the source up to date? Are the sources used to support the content up to date? Relevance. Does this information meet your information need? Who is the intended audience? And is it appropriate for the method you hope to use it in, such as using college-appropriate sources for college coursework? Authority. Who is the creator? What makes them credible on this topic? What can the URL tell you? Accuracy. Is the information accurate? What are their sources? Has the source been edited or reviewed? Purpose. Why does this information exist? Are they trying to teach you something? Are they trying to sell you something? Or are they trying to entertain you? What are the biases? You can download a CRAP test worksheet to rate your source from the HCTC Libraries Orientation and Research LibGuide on the Evaluate Your Sources tab. When scouring information repositories, such as on the internet or library databases, you may find you have biases against the source of the information. A study done by Gallup showed that nurses were the most trusted profession in America, with newspaper reporters and TV reporters, who are traditional sources of mainstream information, falling in the bottom half of the data. With such demonstrated distrust in these organizations who hold monopolies on information distribution, how can we determine what information out there is good or useful for our personal purpose? While bias is inevitable in varying degrees across information platforms, traditional news sources are generally considered credible. A culprit in the rise of distrust for the mainstream media is our own political biases. A study conducted by the Pew Research Center found that a viewer's political ideology heavily influenced their trust in the news. This graph has circulated for some time on social media and has undergone several edits as the original creator took other factors into account. The basic premise of the chart, however, is to try to group popular sources of information based on known biases and inaccurate reporting. The creator has created a baseline standard of information where she has grouped neutral sources of news such as the Associated Press and Reuters, which focus on sharing fact-based news without editorializing. The point of the chart is to draw attention to the changeable nature of the information shared on the more partisan sites, and to encourage viewers to expand their net when searching for information, particularly news sources. Some of the distrust in the news media may stem from the idea of journalists as non-credible or non-professional sources of information. While journalists may report on medical topics without having a professional background in the medical field, they have their own standards of quality which they claim to adhere to. The Society of Professional Journalists outlines some of the standards journalists in their society strive to attain. They take responsibility for the accuracy of their work and use original sources when possible. They provide context. They gather, update, and correct information through the life of their news story. They identify sources when possible and consider source motive before promising anonymity. They are courageous. They support open and civil exchange of views, even views they find personally repugnant. They label advocacy and commentary. They never deliberately distort facts, and they never plagiarize. Keeping those standards in mind, which most mainstream news sources try to adhere to, even with slight partisan biases, we must also be aware of our own personal biases when considering the usefulness of sources to our own information needs. Allsides.com provides a quiz which quickly tests your preferences and discloses which partisan news sources you may be biased towards. They also provide a list of major network and digital news sources, listing their known biases using a scale they developed which takes into account a public rating system and the known biases of those ratings. Project Implicit is a project developed through Harvard which tests for multiple types of bias, prejudice, and tendencies towards discrimination. So, why should we be aware of our own biases? Isn't it the sole responsibility of news sources to present their information in a way palatable for anyone reading regardless of background? The feasibility of every source of information eliminating bias in their content is unlikely. However, we can take responsibility for ourselves and our information consumption habits to round out the partisan nature of news information. One way we as information consumers entrench ourselves in partisan content is by creating what is called a filter bubble. This occurs when we only follow content on social media or access content on our own which confirms or agrees with our biases. This can happen very easily if the only source of news information you use is Fox News or MSNBC. Another way we create filter bubbles is by unfollowing people in our social media timelines who express opinions that are different from our own. You may be thinking, my news isn't biased. They frequently mention the other side. Well, simply mentioning opposition exists isn't the same as presenting both sides of an argument. When an argument is presented in this lopsided way, one side's argument fully developed while the other side is only alluded to or touched on briefly, this is called a false equivalency or balance. Many partisan news sources present their bias in this manner, and it's something to look out for. What about clickbait? What is that, and how is that related to fake news? Well, have you ever read a headline that made you angry, pulled you in with a misleading title, or ended on a cliffhanger? That's clickbait. An article or story that makes you click to find out the content of that article is essentially a clickbait title. This is a marketing strategy and doesn't necessarily mean the information is false. It doesn't mean the website is bad. However, there are many clickbait articles out there which direct users to websites full of malware and viruses. Watch out for funky URLs and sites with tons and tons of ads. Clickbait is also a method of marketing used by heavily partisan information sources. If fake news is literally information that is fake, why aren't satire sites called fake news? Satire is a unique rhetorical style in which the assumption of the information as false is assumed but substandard to the intended message. Satire is meant to shine a light on the things they're making fun of. Prominent satire sites such as The Onion, The Borowitz Report, and The Daily Current disclose their intentions that they create content for entertainment. Deliberately misleading sites that peddle fake news don't disclose their intentions in the same manner. Why is fake news such a hot topic? The rise of social media and the rapid expansion of the internet globally means that information is being shared at rates unheard of. Not all of that information is vetted, but due to the democratized nature of social media, it can be shared next to articles from the New York Times, from Fox News, and your local news as equal to that content. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can make parsing information for your personal use a little bit of a headache. There are ways you can guard yourself on social media. There are a plethora of social media accounts claiming to be important figures, such as President Donald Trump. It isn't difficult to find pictures of celebrities on the internet, and creating an account in their name is even easier. One way to determine if a social media account is associated with the actual individual or agency associated with that individual is to look for verification marks. These are usually blue ring check marks beside the social media's account name. Another way to protect yourself on social media is to cross-reference claims. How do you cross-reference a claim? You can Google the headline, check out other news sources that fall in the neutral territory of that bias chart. Go to Snopes.com and search for the keywords from the headline to see if the claim has been fact-checked. Go to factcheck.org or politifact.org, other fact-checking sites. The spread of fake news has consumed the news cycles for months, and social media sites have taken the brunt of the blame. What does the future hold for the spread of fake news? However the U.S. government chooses to move forward to combat misinformation, journalistic organizations have stepped up to attempt to address the problem. The Trust Project is a journalistic integrity project which news organizations can opt into. Opting in allows the Trust Project to insert a widget on their website which discloses the following: the tendency of the source to make corrections, financial or advertising independence, disclosed conflicts of interest, and their history of publishing reputable information. The Trust Project isn't the only endeavor seeking to address the problem of fake news. Facebook and Google have made discernible changes in their algorithms, which promote certain sources above others based on a series of factors dictating the quality of those sources. They continue to make adjustments as they receive feedback on the effectiveness of their changes. Until major advances have been made to curb the creation and distribution of misinformation, continue to check questionable claims. Visit Snopes.com or factcheck.org for trusty fact-checking, or visit PolitiFact and PunditFact for fact-checks relating solely to politicians and government policy. Use reverse image search on Google.com to verify image legitimacy. The best way to combat the misinformation problem is to start with your own information-seeking habits. Visit HCTC Libraries for additional help analyzing sources. Check out our Decoding News Sources LibGuide, Opposing Viewpoints in Context, which is a database that presents topics in a well-rounded collection of credible information sources. And check out our library books about fake news, bias in the media, social media, and critical thinking. Remember, Google can bring you back 100,000 answers. A librarian can bring you back the right one. Thanks, Neil Gaiman.